from City of Moreton Bay. I am the Manager of Community Engagement and have the privilege of looking after an incredible team of community engagement professionals. Moreton Says is a research-based project where we really wanted to delve into the values, aspirations and needs of our communities, but hear that firsthand from them and then be able to take that information to the decision-making table so that our leaders and the people that were deciding on their behalf could do that with full knowledge of what the community wanted. The program came about because our community was a little bit disengaged and we wanted to make sure that we could re-engage them and re-engage them at a high level that could then filter down into everything that council does. Some of the key factors were making sure that our process was transparent so that everything the community tells us gets reported back to them warts and all. There's no filtering of it except to take out any personal information. We make sure that our communities can participate anonymously so that people can tell us their honest views and we don't filter that at all. So that transparency piece was really important. It's also really important for us that we're giving everybody in our community an opportunity to have their say through this. So we make it available online through paper copies and then we physically go out and promote it and give people the opportunity to talk through their answers with us if they need to, or come to us through multiple different channels. Just one example of a way that it got out there was partnering with Meals on Wheels and making sure that the survey form went in with meals so that some of the elderly in our community could have their say. I think one of the biggest ones was how much the community wanted to have their say. Council, at the point of us undertaking this program, hadn't actively engaged in such a region-wide manner, to our knowledge, ever. So it was a real shift from that not talking to everybody at once to inviting people in to have the conversation. And our very first anchor survey, we had over 4,000 participants in that at the start, and that just built the momentum. So we had more than 20,000 surveys completed in the last 3 years. So I think for me, the biggest surprise was how much people wanted to engage in these issues that were at a higher level. The most rewarding aspect of this project has actually been seeing the shift in council. So our community engagement team was established just over 3 years ago and the program came on board very quickly after that. And we've seen this strong uptake of wanting to use the data, understanding what the data means. So we'll often be in chambers and discussions will pause and they'll go, what has Moreton Says told us about this? What do we know about this topic? What did the community say? And seeing that stop and reflection happening more and more frequently and having teams coming to us and asking, what data do you have on this? I'm doing this project and I want to know what our communities think, has been fantastic. Some of the challenges we've found working the project is making sure that the sample that we have of our population is truly representative. We've divided our City of Moreton Bay into 10 communities of interest, and they're quite different communities. So we've got really urbanised areas like Strathpine and Caboolture, and then we have far more rural residential areas that reach up into the hinterlands. Population-wise, there's quite a difference there, and in terms of their interests, it's quite diverse as well. So what we've had to do is find ways to reach out to every pocket of the region to ensure that the numbers that we get participating bring it up to a robust level so we can then dissect the data in a number of different ways and really explore what people in different parts think about different issues so that the responses that council delivers are relevant to people all across our region. I think one of the key lessons we've learned from Moreton Says is to not be afraid to ask the question, but ask the question in a way that you can respond, that there's something you can do about that. Don't ask questions that you can't do anything about. We've been really careful with the design of the questions in Moreton Says so that we can interrogate it to look at the underlying social licence pathways model that sits below it, and we can see what leads to trust and what leads to approval of council, but we can also pull out pieces of information and use that in a way to inform our projects. So the participation of all of our departments in designing the survey questions was really important, so that the information that came out of it was directly relevant to them. And another thing we found that through that is it's increased collaboration across departments. So by coming together to find information that they need, it's also broken down some of those silos that you can get across organisations like council that are very big and very diverse. To anyone thinking about creating an IAP2 award submission for next year, I would say do it, but don't start thinking about the IAP2 principles and processes now. Start thinking about that when you're creating your project, and make sure it's built in from the very start. If you're retrospectively trying to fit things to a project that didn't quite meet the mark, you're going to have a very hard time preparing a submission and an even harder time winning. So take those principles and processes, build them in from the beginning, and then go for it. The IAP2 awards are a fantastic opportunity to get recognition for where you're doing well, and they're also an amazing motivator to keep going down that path of excellence.